recording.
No, absolutely.
So yeah, so this is how I do it. I use my mobile phone, and then it can pick up the stuff in the shot, the ovilus and the other thing there with all the lights on the end. That's a K2 meter, which again, ghost hunters have found will pick up spirits, and it's showing quite a lot anyway. But what Roger tends to do with this K2 meter is normally there's just one green light on if there's no electric field detected, but if Roger agrees with something, he'll flash the lights, up to the red maximum to show that he's saying, "Oh yeah, I agree with that," or "That's me," or whatever. So anyway, that's the basics. So he's just gone again, and what he often does, it can take him quite a while to show up in the first place. So I have been known to take half an hour for him to appear at all, and then he'll perhaps show for a while, or some days he might not show much at all. But I asked him to come, so I'll just wander around, and then if I see him again, I'll give you a shout or whatever, or if you want to look over my shoulder. But are you there, Roger? Are you going to show up again? Because you're not showing. Oh, there. Was that you in the seat? I just saw briefly. Obviously, there's a strong possibility you could have other spirits here, but with recent testing that we've done, is that you in the seat, Roger? I think it could be, couldn't it? With recent testing that we've done, I get the feeling that Roger shows up on this because he manipulates the camera. So, there's another spirit in another chair. So, who's that, Roger? Is that you, Roger, and maybe Joan? We quite often get Roger and Joan showing up now. Joan didn't used to. Oh yeah, moved to a front seat. Joan didn't used to show up in the beginning. In life, she was a bit sort of reserved and wouldn't mess about with stuff like this, perhaps. But I think recently, in the last year or so, she's seen that it's very beneficial. We've had some really good mediums who've come through, and Joan has come through with some amazing stuff through an American medium that we got in touch with. So
what was it saying?
So sometimes it comes out with a load of words and you think, oh, it's meaningless words, but occasionally you get a word and you think, oh, that's very appropriate. So when it said Carol, I'm pretty sure that was Roger saying Caroline. But there are some days when you think, well, all the words are meaningless, it's rubbish. But there have been times where a year later, literally, I've gone back and I've thought, bloody hell, that's what Roger meant.
Yeah.
There was a case in our house and we had this scientific investigator, and I asked Roger where he was, and he said bored, and I thought, oh God, what's he on about, bored? I don't know. That's just a rubbish word. And then reading just a few months ago, editing the video for the book, I realised he meant skirting board, and I thought, bloody hell, that's exactly the right word, and I hadn't spotted it for a year. But obviously there's only 2,000 words in here, and they're American, so a lot of words aren't suitable for him. He was really keen on books and English. He was a English teacher in his early days and that. So words are everything to Roger. So, he's got perhaps a limited choice in this device, and even then it's perhaps hard to operate the thing anyway, which I fully understand. But he is very good at showing up on this camera.
It looks like they're sitting on a chair.
Yeah, so this camera, that's the camera. It's packed with electronics, but then there's a whole load of software on this tablet computer, which is down here. The reason I have this monitor is because the picture that is generated by this camera is back to front, side to side, it's inverted, and I had devil of a job trying to get it the right way around, and I ended up having to get a monitor, and you've got a mirror function on it, and you can get the picture so it's the right way around, and that way you can actually see what's going on, because otherwise your brain gets fried, because if something's on the wrong side, and some of these devices that don't have, say, the Microsoft software, they've got a picture like that, which is infrared. It's just blocks of colour. So if you had that picture and it was back to front, you'd never work out what was where.
Well, it looks like having to lay down.
Yeah, possibly. But yeah, as Caroline was saying, the spirits showing there, sometimes they look a bit strange shape-wise, and they might not look fully human-shaped.
They don't have
and the
one.
camera struggles perhaps to know where the limbs are. And the reason for that, I think, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, the software and the electronics are designed to look for a human shape. And when they see a human shape, they will think, right, there's the human. You know, if it's a physical human, they'll say, oh, they're the legs, they're the arms, and they put the stick figure on them. But when it's seeing a spirit, it's just like a blob of some sort of energy, I think. Apparently souls, you know, spirits aren't
It's a physical-
human
yeah.
shape. They don't have legs and arms. So the camera's struggling and it's thinking, oh, well, there's something there, but I'm not quite sure where it is. So it's putting, you know, the stick figure on what it thinks as a best guess. And some days you see it and all the limbs and everything are sort of moving around, and the camera obviously doesn't know what the hell's going on, but it knows there's something there. And I think that's right. But so that's the explanation. And again, skeptics say, oh, it's rubbish, and, you know, that's why it's not real, because, you know, it just doesn't know where the arms are. And some people on these films, you know, on the internet and that, they're saying, oh, put your arm up if that's you. And we've done that ourselves. But in reality, I don't think they can. You know, I think at this point, just the fact they're showing up is good, but they probably haven't got any control with the camera of exactly where the various limbs and what have you are.
It's definitely not picking up the chair, like it's not seeing the chair.
No.
is it?
Well, that was one of the arguments from the skeptics. Society for Psychical Research, which is the oldest society of its type in the world, and it was set up in this country, you know, in the 1800s, with the express intent, you know, aim of proving life after death. And it was the forerunner of the spiritualist church and everything. So they do investigations, you know, of paranormal things, and they'll come out if they're persuaded that there's something worth investigating, and they will, you know, check it out, and they will see, and then if they rule out everything that's a supposedly logical scientific explanation,
If they manage to debunk it.
yeah, if they debunk it, then they'll say, okay, perhaps that is genuine. So after a lot of struggling, I managed to get,
You wanted to get.
I wanted scientific sort of validation for what's going on here for purposes of my book or whatever, because otherwise people say, oh, it's a load of rubbish. So eventually I got one of their investigators. He could see there was something in this. So he came up to us, you know, from down south to Yorkshire, stayed for the weekend, and he met us and, you know, saw what we were doing in our house and that. We showed him around, and he was sort of, he wasn't persuaded, but he was sort of still a bit interested. And then eventually, many months later, I persuaded him to, I'd go down and meet him at Northampton University where he was doing his PhD. He wasn't familiar with these cameras, so I got him one and sent it to him first and said, you know, that's your camera, and do experiments, have a look, which he did. And then when I went down, we did a load of tests, and we did some tests that he'd planned of the two cameras side by side, his and mine. So in a very plain white room with totally plain white walls, after about 30 minutes, eventually Roger did show up for several minutes. And this investigator, Aaron, I said, you know, do we need to do any more for you to believe that this is really a spirit? And he said, no, that's it.
It was a plain white wall, so there was nothing for the camera to.
Detect.
So like you were implying, there was nothing in the background to sort of con the camera,
Yeah.
because that's a skeptic's argument that, you know, if Roger or whoever is showing up in front of furniture, then the camera might be confused by the shape of the furniture and stuff.
People say
Which is-
a dark wall. They don't. They think this. Does it only show up in the dark?
Yeah,
don't they?
but like in our living room, we've got a cluttered living room, very old-fashioned furniture and that, so you can't see anywhere that isn't full of bits and pieces and shapes and that. And so obviously when Aaron came up then and saw Roger, he would think, oh, well, there's so many bits and pieces that could be tricking the camera, so it's not genuine. But Hug, yeah, he does say that. And yeah, sorry, Roger, we're not talking to you, are we? We're ignoring you.
Well, if it was the chairs, it would probably pick up all the chairs.
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
that's right. And you can
And it
see.
didn't pick them up straight away.
And as I move the camera, sometimes the stick figures will move across, you know. And Roger's very good at being in shot generally, you know. Normally, wherever I'm pointing the camera, he will make sure that he's there within the shot of the
You get
camera.
a feeling sometimes, can't you, Nathan? Like a prickle.
Yeah,
on
they
your
say with
skin.
spirits sometimes you can feel them,
Do you
the,
just try?
the electrical
No.
energy.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, I don't think,
I
but
can-
it's just coming over towards you, just in case you can make him feel something, can you? So,
perhaps a prickle on your skin.
can
Or
you
sometimes
touch?
it's like a cobweb.
Can you touch Jane, Roger, or Joan? So Roger's stood up by the wooden doors now. Air. So yeah, your hand is very near. Roger, you're going to, but can you give him a little tingle in his hand, perhaps? It doesn't always work, but it might. But I think the other thing, perhaps, is that conventional ghost hunters, they have this idea, and they say if there's a spirit around, this K2 meter will give a high reading because there's a lot of electrical energy. But from what I can experience with Roger, he only flashes the meter when he wants to. It's not there all the time. So even if he's close, the meter doesn't always show up a load of electrical energy. So I'm not sure, you know, you might well not feel anything, but you might. But this is all very interesting. So we'll send you a copy of this video later and you can have a look because it is very fascinating.
You want
But
to try some of the other room?
well, to be honest, I think we've got most of what we need, but I'm happy to walk around in case Roger comes with us. But I'm pretty confident that is Joan and Roger there.